Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Changemaker series. We're hurtling towards Christmas. This might even be my last one before Christmas, but I don't remember. Don't ask me. I'm not sure. I'm speaking with Amanda Hind today, not Emma Hind, Amanda Hind. On the original notification, I put Emma. So just for all of you wondering, Amanda, not Emma. I'm meeting myself coming backwards. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Heidi Maver. I'm the founder of the OTAS Matters. We work supporting parents and carers of neurodivergent households who need support in securing educational provision and other help for their children and young people. And I'm also the author of Your Child Is Not Broken. And as part of the Changemaker series, I've been interviewing other people who work in the SEND space, in the mental health space, in the advocacy space, many of them neurodivergent parent professionals. And that's why I'm speaking to Amanda today. So good morning, lovely. Good afternoon, even. How are you?
It is afternoon now. Hello. Hi, I'm good. Thanks, Heidi.
I don't even know what day it is.
I felt like that for about 2 weeks.
I'm in that pre-Christmas flat spin where it's just I don't know. Anyway, whatever. So let's get to know you a little bit, if that's okay. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Tell me what you would like to share with me. What do people need to know
Sure.
about you?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Amanda. I'm late diagnosed autistic. I was formally diagnosed almost 13 years ago now. So I was 34 at the time. And I only really began to notice that I might be autistic because my youngest child had a diagnosis. So he was diagnosed when he was 4 with autism and learning difficulties. And then he's 22 next month. Scary. Time flies. But
Yeah.
he was diagnosed at the age of 20 with learning disability as well. He's also dyspraxic, so he's wonderfully multiply neurodivergent, and I love that. My eldest is also autistic, and they were diagnosed halfway through year 9. My eldest is probably ADHD, and I am currently on a waiting list for ADHD assessment for myself. So we are a lovely, lovely ND family, and it's really nice that we just feel that we can be ourselves now that we know who we are.
Yeah.
Because if you
And you're
don't
a
know who you are,
multiply
things are really hard.
neurodivergent household, but you didn't know that about yourself personally until quite late in the day, which often happens to
Yeah,
lots of parents and carers, right? We're like,
yeah,
oh, and
that's
here
why.
we go, something about myself I didn't know. If I look
Yeah,
distracted, it's just because I'm sharing this into my groups and stuff. So, so you've been advocating for your children and your young people, and then you have
yeah,
started doing some work supporting other parents and carers and professionals. Let's talk a little bit about the work that you do and have been doing
yeah.
and intend to do. Do you want to fill us in a bit?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, originally, I guess it all started because I was a teacher. I was teaching in schools for nearly 20 years. And I always found that the children with additional needs tended to gravitate towards me. And I just love those kids so much.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had my diagnosis, I left mainstream teaching and I went into special needs. Uh, Alternative provisions, lots of very sort of specific different things for autistic children in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up at the same time as doing that thinking, you know what, there's not much information out there for people like me who are later diagnosed. There's not enough information out there at the time, going back, to 2012, on what autism is like in women and girls.
Yeah.
There were so many, and it still is, there's so many myths, so many stereotypes, and so many misconceptions. And I thought, I can't be the only person like me, and I'm absolutely not, but I didn't know anybody else like me. So back in 2014, I started my own speaking and training and consultancy business in autism, as well as teaching, because that's the ADHD. I like to be very busy.
Yeah.
Um, and I just love that. I've been all over the place talking to so many different people, parents, professionals from schools, professionals from healthcare, from social care, of all ages. And I'm just really passionate about helping people to understand that autism isn't this very stereotyped white boy condition, that anybody can be autistic. And yeah, and just knowing what to look out for so that we can try to avoid the levels of distress that I had and that my eldest had because of not being identified early enough.
Yeah.
Because, my eldest in particular really, really struggled and ended up with lots of mental health difficulties, including PTSD from all the things that went wrong at school. And, they're 23 now and are just about okay now. But it's taken a long time to get there,
There's a lot
because
of work to be
you
done,
can't
isn't there?
see
Yeah, no, exactly.
necessarily,
And there's a lot of work to be done, isn't there? Because I hope you don't mind me mentioning, but you're a mixed heritage household as well. So
Yeah.
there's that extra layer, that extra intersection that you had to face with your children and young people, whereby there's this assumption that autistic kids are white, cisgendered, male, and that they present in a particular way, and your kids didn't fit that mold. So you had to work a bit harder, right?
Massively, and it was really hard. It was hard for me. My mum's culture just doesn't understand autism at all. And it's taken me years to get my mum to understand me. And that's my mum,
Mm-hmm.
So, she worked in healthcare herself, and she was a midwife for her whole career. And it just goes to show the lack of training and awareness for people in healthcare as well, that they just don't know what to look out for. But she's learned along the way through lots of me just reminding her that sometimes actually this isn't my fault, that I can't do that, that don't do this because I won't react well to that, etc., etc. But one of the biggest things, that worked so well for me recently was I had to go into hospital early this year for an operation, and I wrote a hospital passport which I needed to have a very specific set of reasonable adjustments and very specific information about what not to do and how I present when I'm under stress, because I'm one of the people that goes non-speaking when I'm under stress, and people need to reach out to me because I'm just not going to say anything, and I'll kind of bury my head in the sand a lot, and I think if people just look at us like that, they think, oh, there's nothing wrong with them, they're fine.
They're fine.
Actually,
Yeah.
no, it's the absolute opposite, complete opposite. And unfortunately, that's what happens with so many children at school. And we hear it all the time. Oh, but your child's fine in school. No, your child is masking massively in school because they are not fine, and because there just isn't enough understanding. So in my last few years of teaching in schools, I was a deputy Senko and I ran an autism provision in a mainstream secondary. And then I went on to be a Senko in a secondary school as well. And honestly, the training, the education, the understanding of autism in schools is very hit and miss,
Very.
very hit and miss, because there's no standardized requirement of what should be taught. And when we think that current stats say that 1 in 100 people, and we know that that's not true, 1 in 100 people are autistic, and it's more likely double that, you're going to come across so many autistic people in your life. You
Yeah.
need to know what to look out for and how to just change things slightly,
Yeah.
often, that will make a huge difference.
I think even if we were looking at like that as a conservative stat, we know, don't we, anecdotally and from our own networks, that in any classroom, you've got 3 or 4 neurodivergent kids, different types of
Absolutely.
neurodivergence. And we've got teachers and teaching assistants who are just not equipped, and we're setting them up to fail, and we're setting them up to let our kids down. And it's not fair on the teachers, and it's not fair on the children. And I think I was talking to someone yesterday and we were talking about the social care situation, because I was talking to some parent carers yesterday, some foster carers, and they were saying it's the same in social care. Like there's just no understanding of neurodivergence at all. And it's not that those professionals and those individuals don't care. It's that they just haven't had the information they need to be able to support our young people.
That's it. And that's chronic underfunding. It's, as you say, it's not their fault. It's not that they don't want to know more or don't want to do better. It's often lack of opportunity, sometimes lack of knowledge that there is more to know, because if you don't know what you don't know, that's a huge barrier as well.
100%.
Yeah, and if you know you don't know something, then you could make steps to try and find out. But if it's that unknown, that's
And then when you layer on top of that the situation that we have in a lot of our households where you've got neurodivergent parents as well, many of them undiagnosed, unrecognised and completely unaware of their own challenges.
Yeah.
And then you've got us trying to have conversations with school. You've got the barriers to communication between autistic and non-autistic people. It's no wonder the wheels come off so magnificently for so many families.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, that's why I really like being in the space that I am, because I know what it's like being autistic. I know what it's like not being believed a lot of the time about the things that I need or the struggles that I may have, because I can be articulate. People don't think I have a problem. Oh, I do have a problem.
Yeah.
Often there are lots of things I need help with that people don't see because it's all under the surface.
Yeah.
But also having been that professional working in schools, you know, with the children that really need the help, and having to advocate so hard for my children for so many years, I think bringing that you know, trio of knowledge together puts me in quite a good place to know.
Absolutely. And we need more professionals in the spaces where people like, so I love that you have the pedigree of that you worked in an alternative provision. You've got plenty of experience in specialist settings. You've got experience in a resource provision. You were you were on the Senko team. Do you know what I mean? You have all of that, and you're a neurodivergent adult, and you've got neurodivergent kids, and you have experience of engaging in the system as someone who is not a white person. So you have all of those like lovely intersections that means that you can bring so much more to the table. And like, we need more of this. I'm super like, this is my thing. I'm like, more of this, please.
Definitely. And one of the things that I'm really loving at the moment is, although I'm not in schools, I'm still teaching. I'm like a specialist tutor, and I have students with the OTAS packages who have PDA, and I love them. It's just brilliant. It's the highlight of my week all the time. I just really enjoy working with those students and just validating their experiences and their reality and letting them grow to know themselves and who they are, and
Yeah.
that it's okay to be who you are, that no two people need to be the same, no two people should be the same. You
Yeah.
know, it's
100%.
we're all very different in my house, even though we have overlapping conditions. And you know, autism likes friends, doesn't it? So you know, we have got lots of other things going on as well, medical conditions and
I love that,
other
autism
chronic
likes
health
friends.
issues.
I love that. That's much a nicer way than saying that we've got comorbidities. I love that.
Oh yeah, comorbidity is not great. If you have to say anything like that, I say co-occurring. But you know,
Yeah, same. Yeah.
autism doesn't often occur by itself. There's very often something, at least one other thing else going on
And it's a
alongside
bit
it,
of a lottery
which
as
just
well as
makes us
to,
even more complicated.
yeah.
And that's even more of a reason why people who work with autistic people need to get to know them as individuals, because it is not a one size fits all. You know, the stuff that I would need if I'm in distress is not the same stuff that my children would need if they're in distress. The way that I stim when I'm happy might look the same as how somebody stims when they are stressed, you know, and
Yeah.
so you have to know individuals, and that is crucial.
So important. So I know you're doing quite a lot of stuff on things for next year.
Yeah.
So on top of like you already do training, you already do some tutoring for neurodivergent kids through EOTAS packages and what have you. And I say what have you? You've got a lot going on. You're the typical
I'm also doing a
ADHD adult.
PhD because, you know, my brain just can't stop. So
Just throw a PhD in there. So let's talk a little bit about what you're working on for the next, few months. What have you got coming in the new year that people might be interested
I'm
in?
so excited because this year is my 10th year really of running my autism business, and I've been thinking about how often I get asked lots of questions about how can I support this student, what do I need to know, what can I do differently, and there's only one of me. I can't be everywhere. Much as I'd like to be, I can't be everywhere. So
Yeah.
over the next few months, I'm working on developing some online courses, which means yes, I do face-to-face stuff. Yes, I do webinars online, but actually having online courses that people can buy and attend weekly. And then after that, I'll have pre-recorded courses as well that people can gain access to, which means people who want to pick my brain, yes, brilliant, we'll have the live sessions with those people. sometimes that's not possible because life gets in the way, and particularly when you've got a complicated family, you need to be able to access things when it's convenient. So having
Mm-hmm.
pre-recorded courses as well is what I'll be working towards next year. So there'll be some things aimed at parents and some things aimed at professionals.
Brilliant. I think this is so important as well. I know that we've had conversations about it, and the cohort that we've been working in together, we've had conversations about how to make things accessible for parents and carers, and particularly neurodivergent parents and carers. And, it's commonly known that people who are neurodivergent tend to be autodidactic in their learning styles, which means that they prefer to learn at their own speed and to self-teach rather than having something delivered in a formal, I will sit down and talk at you and that's how you'll learn. And so for a lot of us,
You would just switch off.
exactly, a lot of us need webinar based things that we can stop, we can come back to, we can pause and go and research the bit of the rabbit hole that we've dived into, and so that format of online courses is perfect for a lot of neurodivergent parents, aside from the fact that that means you can dip into it as and when you are up in the middle of the night.
I work best late at night, at weekends, all the times when people should be chilling and resting. Actually, that's when my brain likes to work. First thing in the morning, my brain is really slow, and if I had to attend a training course first thing in the morning, I'd probably miss a good chunk of what it said, to be honest. So
yeah, I don't
yeah,
function before 11 o'clock, before I've had at least a couple of cups of tea and my medication and something to eat and a wash, like usually a bath. That's part of my regulation in the mornings. And
yeah.
it's just, people are like, oh, can you do first thing? And I'm like, 11:30. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, that's first thing for me.
And the more I realise that about myself as well, the more I wonder how on earth I managed to get up at 6 o'clock when I worked in schools, and
Same.
yeah. And sometimes
People
my
who
mum says
employ
to me,
me
"But
just
you're doing so many hours." I'm like, "Yeah, but I did that when I was a Senko. It's just that I'm organising my hours differently now.
Mhm.
So they might look more unfriendly for other people, but they work way better for me."
Works for you. You've got to work out what your regulation patterns look like and what your circadian rhythm looks like. And we've got lots of
Absolutely.
families in our community who are almost fully nocturnal, and that's fine. That's what works for them as a household, and it might not be something they want long term, but you work with what you've got, right? And I know that
Yeah.
so the courses that you're planning on doing, like I know you've got a few things in the pipeline along with your
Yeah.
PhD. That's crazy.
Of course.
But, but if you are they going to be for parents, for professionals? Are you looking at two different things, or what are you thinking? What's that going to look like?
Well, I know there's definitely going to be stuff for parents and things for professionals, but it may be that, in fact, the first course I'm thinking of is just suitable for anybody who's interested. Because the first thing I'm working on is actually what my PhD is about. It's about intersectionality, about being from those marginalised backgrounds, about being non-male, non-white, and autistic, and what that actually means in terms of yourself, your
Yeah.
experience, and how people see you or don't, and
Yeah.
relate to you and know how to support you. Because if you haven't been exposed to certain things, you do not know the challenges that other people have to live through. And
Mm-hmm.
for many people in that very small intersection of feeling alone, it has been a battle just to get to that point. It's been a battle to be diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got sexism, racism, and ableism all going on at once, often inadvertently,
Mm-hmm.
it's blooming hard to know how
Mm-hmm.
to how to advocate for yourself and to make sure that other people don't just think that you are being argumentative, which is what I get quite a lot, because I will stand up for myself, and then I get all the stereotypes of being an angry black woman because
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to advocate strongly for myself. But I wouldn't have to do that if people listened in the first place.
Really
And
important.
one of the things that I think people shouldn't be afraid of saying is, I don't know, but I will listen and I will find out, and I'm here to support you. Even though I do not understand your lived experience, that's your experience. It's really valid. And thank you for sharing that with me.
Really important. But we need more of that in these spaces rather than being shut down by professionals. And I think you and I are on the same page on this. Like, I think if your advocacy and your support for SEND families is not intersectional, then it's not real advocacy, because you've got to understand that until we all have equity, none of us have equity. And we can't be, and like, I do understand, we talked about this last week, didn't we? I do understand the challenges around, for example, the underdiagnosis of girls. I understand that really well. I was an undiagnosed girl. And I also understand that that is not a standalone issue, because actually it's about misogyny, it's about sexism, it's about gender stereotypes, and it's not just girls, it's anyone who lives in a marginalized gender, and anyone who just doesn't present in a classic gendered way, which is pretty much all of our kids, you know. So so I think it's really important. And the same with, you know, race. It's really important that we're not only speaking to people who look and experience the world in the same way that we do, because we can't leave people behind.
No.
You know, it's, if we're only advocating for middle class white families who maybe don't have any other, you know, challenges in the household, if we're only advocating for educated people who don't have any learning differences of their own, and if we're only advocating for people who are not in the mental health system and not in the social care system, we're actually contributing to the problem even more. So because we're making it, we're broadening that gap, and we're leaving the most vulnerable members of our society and our community, our neurodivergent community, behind. And that's
because that very stereotyped group is actually a minority.
Yeah.
Because many of us have got multiply marginalized parts of our identity.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'm so pleased you're doing this work. I think, you know, I think you're doing amazing work. And like, I know it doesn't really matter what I think, but for what it's worth, go you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Heidi. And, you know, that's what drives me. Even though, yes, I am really busy, it's because I love it all and I'm passionate about it all. And I want so much to try and get things right, you know, and that brings me great joy.
I know it's so important. So people that are watching this live or following along on the replay, people, you need to go and find Amanda. Amanda's got a really good Facebook page, Amanda Hind ASC, and she also has a website where you can go, and you have a mailing list, right? People can sign up for your mailing list and get your updates and things. And when your course goes live in the new year, we're going to be shouting about it and going batshit mental and getting people on it, because I think there's no way that anyone wouldn't benefit from learning about the things that you're talking about from an actually autistic adult. Like, tick, 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 you know? So I'm just sick of hearing white men talk about autism. Like, I'm just like, yeah, all right, babe.
It's people who don't live it. That's the thing, you know. I can talk about what it's like to have a learning disability, but actually I don't live it. So when it comes to that side of stuff, my youngest son is the best person to speak about it, because that's his life. I could never speak for his experience. I can say a little bit about it from observation and from anecdotal evidence, but no, when it comes to that bit, he's the person that needs to be telling it like it is and saying his story.
Yeah, absolutely. So please go and find Amanda. Not Emma, Amanda.
I don't even know anyone called Emma Hind, so
no one, nor do I. I don't know. Anyway, God, I apologize.
It's Monday. It's all good.
I mean, it's Monday. It's December.
It's pre-Christmas. Yeah.
It's a wonder we're both upright. Let's be honest. So, so thank you for everything that you do, Amanda. I'm really excited to make sure that people know what you're doing in the new year. Have a beautiful Christmas, whatever that looks like for you. Yeah, everyone, thank you for watching along. Let us know if you made it to the end of the replay, and go and find Amanda. Amanda Hind ASC.co.uk, or search for Amanda Hind ASC on Facebook. See you all later.